Hello, welcome back to the myHogwarts.com Learn to Crochet series. This is Ganchi, and so far in the series we have learned how to make a pretty spectacular rectangle. We've got here single crochet, double crochet, then we learned the triple crochet and the half double crochet, so check all the previous videos for how to do those. But now we're going to get into something a little bit, it's not more complicated, it's very simple, but it allows us to do a lot of new and interesting things besides just making a rectangle. So you can make scarves, but you know, that's kind of cliche. So we're going to be doing increases and then decreases. So as the word increase sort of entails, you're basically going to go from 1 stitch to 2. You're going to increase the number of stitches that you've got. So if you remember back at the beginning, we chained 19 and then slipped single crocheted into the second stitch from the hook. So we have 18 stitches across this whole time. Right here you can count if you want to pause the video. So we've got 18 stitches across, and I'm going to be doing a row of double crochet here. And we're going to be increasing as we go. And I'm definitely increasing more than you need to. When you're actually doing a pattern, you're really just going to want to increase on the sides. Because say you want to make like a triangle. You're just going to put like one increase on either side of each row to make it flat. So this isn't going to lay flat, but I'm going to show you how it's done. So we're doing double crochet, so we start with a chain 3, right? And turn. Wrap, and we're going to just do a single double crochet, just one double crochet into the first stitch. And what I'm actually doing here is, since we have 18 stitches and that's a multiple of 3, for every 3 stitches I'm going to do 1 and then an increase and then another one. And then that way we weren't going to be increasing and just like doubling the size of the row in just one row. It'll only be a third bigger, so it won't be quite as wavy and wibbly. So to make an increase, you start just the same way you would with a normal stitch. You just double crochet, and then you do it again, but in the same stitch. It is really that simple. If you have 1 double crochet, you want to have 2 double crochet, you just do it twice. So that'll be in patterns as 2 DC for 2 double crochet in next stitch. Right? And you'll see it just sort of, they just sort of make room for each other and it expands, and there you go, you've got your increase. And so now over 2 stitches at the bottom, we have 3 stitches at the top. So I'm going to do this next 2 just straight, like I said. Oh. I always want to go under 2 loops when I can. I'm going to increase again, right? 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, just in the exact same stitch. See that? So basically, instead of going into the next stitch, you just go straight back into the same stitch. You may have done that accidentally and went back to count your stitches and found out that's what happened. Well, here we're doing it on purpose. So I'm going to keep going along. I'll slow down every time I get to the increase, and I'm just going to increase every 3 stitches until we get to the end of the row. Here we go. 1 double crochet. And 2 double crochet. Go. Alright. So you can see here, it looks a little bit cramped. It's a little bit wider. It's not quite as wavy as it could be. If I had done a double if I had increased in every stitch across, it would probably be really wavy. So keep that in mind. Here's an example actually. To show you what it looks like when you double crochet in every double crochet. This is Octi the octopus. He's a little friend of ours. And all of his tentacles here, you'll actually see all I did was just chain down, and then I just did 2 double crochet in each chain stitch. So see there's 1 chain stitch, 2 stitches, 2 double crochet, 2 double crochet, all the way across. And since there's so many of them, it just naturally curls like that, right? It has that curve to it. It won't lie flat because it's basically twice as big on this side, and so it naturally will make these ringlets. So that's if that's what you're going for, that's great. If you're making something that's supposed to lie flat, you have increased too much if it starts doing this. Sit by Octi. Alright, so now that we've shown you how to increase, which really, I mean, it's very, very simple, now we're going to decrease. So it's the opposite of an increase. With an increase, you start with 1 stitch, you end up with 2. With a decrease, you start with 2 stitches, you end up with 1. So we're going to show you how to do that again with double crochet. So chain 3 to go up to the next row. I'm going to decrease the same places that I increased, so I'm going to start with this single double crochet. That's fine. And so here's where I'm going to do the decrease. See, this is the increase. I'm just going to decrease right there. So you start as you would for the double crochet. Yarn over, insert, and pull out. So you've got your 3 loops on the hook. And then you yarn over and pull through the first 2. So far, so good, right? Except in a double crochet, you would pull through the last 2, right? Because we're decreasing, we're not going to do that yet. Instead, we're going to move on and start on the next stitch, right? So yarn over, insert into the next stitch, and pull out. Now, these 3 are like the second double crochet here, right? So you do the first step as you would, and now you've got like the 2 last loops of the first stitch, the 2 last loops of the second stitch, and you just combine them all into one. So you make most of the stitch and then you combine it. And if that last explanation didn't make any sense to you, that's fine. That's the way my mind works. Don't expect it to make sense to everybody. So let's just do it step by step. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Then yarn over, insert into the next stitch. Yarn over, pull through. Yarn over, pull through the next 2. And then yarn over and pull through the final 3. There we go. And so you see here we had 2 at the beginning, 2 stitches at the beginning, and we end up with 1 stitch at the top. We've decreased, right? I'm going to move ahead a little bit just to kind of show you what this looks like with other stitches. Because it's very simple for an increase. I didn't mention this, but with increases it's the same with any stitch, right? Double crochet, 2 double crochet, and 1 stitch. Single crochet, you just do 2 single crochet and 1 stitch. Triple crochet, same thing. You really just do an extra stitch in the same stitch. With a decrease, it's not a different principle. It's the same idea, but it's just going to have more or fewer loops depending on what stitch you're doing. So for example, this is how you decrease 2 single crochet. Just start like this, right? And you've got the last 2 already. You're already at the last 2 loops, so you actually go straight in again like this, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. Does that make sense? Got yarn over, pull through the second stitch, and then pull through all 3 loops. I got stuck on something there. Alright, so there you've got 2 stitches at the bottom and they become 1 single crochet at the top. Let's move forward a little bit and I'll show you, for example, with the triple crochet, you're going to have yarn over twice, right? Then you insert yarn over, pull through 2 loops, then pull through 2 loops, and now you've got your 2 stitches. Your 2 loops, right? And that's where you start on the next stitch. So you just basically go in your stitch until you only have 2 loops left. Or basically right before the very last step of the stitch. Oh, sorry about that. So there. And then at the end when you've got 2 that you're combining, you've got 3 loops total, right? If you're going to try to decrease extra fast, you would have more loops. Right? So that's why I say it's the second to last step, because if you look, how do you do the half double crochet, yarn over, insert, pull through. You've got 3 loops, but this is your last step, right? If you were to do the half double crochet, this is what your last step would look like with 3 loops instead of 2. So since it's your last step, then we move on. We skip the last step and go on to the next stitch. So instead of having 3, we've actually got 5. And then you pull through all 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And there we go. We've got 2 half double crochets decreased. So to show all of those again, this one's the half double crochet, this is the triple, and the single. I'm going to show you, here, this is the fun part I haven't taught you. This is called frogging, because you rip it, rip it, rip it. Okay. So as we were going along, we were going to do a decrease every 3 stitches, like we were doing the row before, right? Here's your 2 straight double crochets, all good. Normally normal. Alright. So I hope I'm not making this too confusing. It's not confusing. You just start doing your stitch until your last step, right? Instead of doing your last step, you move on to the next stitch. And you keep going until your last step on that one. And then you just finish them all together. You just combine the last step of 2 stitches. And we've got our just last stitch right here. Finish off the row nice and clean. And there we go. So you'll see it's a little bit bulgy, but we are back to our 16 stitches across. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Sorry, did I say 16? 18. There are 18 stitches across, and you'll actually see it's kind of bulging here, little bumps where we increased and then decreased. So that would, you know, make some shaping if you were making, like, say, a blouse. You could have like a bust there that, you know, sort of increase to make room and then decrease again to make different shapes. This is the kind of techniques that you'd be using if you're making clothes or a stuffed animal maybe with a belly, that kind of thing. And then obviously increasing is going to be really important when we're working in the round. Like, for example, here's Octi again. You got to increase if you're working in the round. And working in the round is going to be our technique that we're learning in our next episode. So tune in next week. We're going to learn how to make circles and how to make cute little guys like this. And we're going to learn how to implement all the stitches we've learned so far into some cool projects. So I will see you next week.